Okay, so I'm Olivia, and this is my channel for White Rabbit Journeys, which is the name of my website or my project. I offer QHHT and BQH, so quantum healing sessions. A lot of people are more familiar with the term past life regression, and I thought I would just talk a little bit about how I got into this work. I think it's always good to understand people's backgrounds and what their motivation was for starting this kind of work, because yeah, it's an interesting step and a big change from the jobs that we're most familiar with. So I've kind of been quite familiar with the concept of reincarnation and past lives since my childhood, because my mom was, she believed in reincarnation and everything, and so did my grandfather, and he used to do a lot of energy work. He also did a modality called brain gym at the time, which was a modality where he would help children reintegrate movements that they'd missed out in their formative years. So things like missing sitting up or crawling, just as examples, can have effects down the line. So he did kind of a combination of forms of energy work with different communities and occasionally past life regressions. And then my mother also took a lot of courses in that area. And so as a kid, I was familiar with it, and I kind of, I guess I did believe in it deep down, but even a couple of decades ago, a lot of this stuff was still, laughed at, not talked about and stuff. So I did, as a child and teenager, and even in my 20s, was still kind of distancing myself from some of these things. I guess I was missing kind of the real world examples of people who were, connected to the bigger picture or other dimensions, however you want to call it, but also living a good earth life, and yeah, just good examples of people like integrating all of those things together. And with family being so close, sometimes it's hard to see that balance. So I was missing kind of figures outside of the family bubble that could show me kind of a different way of living. Yeah, when I was 12, we moved to Germany from Colorado, and that was a really big change. We left family, we left the city, Denver, where I grew up, up until that point, and my friends, and we didn't speak, besides my dad, none of us spoke German, so had to learn German. We ended up in a small town in kind of the middle of Germany, which was lucky because it was more helpful in learning German quickly than a big city would have been. I guess that was a really big step in my life where I had to start bridging two worlds. So it was a big push of independence. And yeah, after graduating, I went to art school in Cornwall in England, and did art and design foundation, did my bachelor's in illustration, and had a really good, yeah, although also confusing, time there in a beach town surrounded by tons of plants, everyone doing sports, and that kind of planted a lot of seeds. Yeah, and then my 20s was kind of going into the corporate world after art school, just corporate jobs. Berlin's tough. Berlin is not for the faint of heart. and kind of, I guess, finding my space in like the systems that are, and seeing the problems, and also deprogramming, some of the things that you learn during school and during university of conformity and stuff. And a couple of years ago, I had several tough situations hit me all at the same time. Family themes, job themes, relationship themes, death of people nearby or in my vicinity. And then also the pandemic, so it was kind of a lot to take in all at the same time, and that really, I guess, pulled the rug out from under me. And then I started looking for answers, because I was just seeing, okay, this pattern's repeating, this pattern is repeating. I need help at this point. Like, I'm not moving forward. I've done what I can. I mean, before that point, I had already, read a lot of the spiritual books, It's like I was already questioning a lot. I was looking for answers. I'd been doing yoga at that point since I was like 19, 20, if you don't want to count the yoga videos that we had on VHS when I was a kid. But I wouldn't really call that quite the same thing. Yeah, that was, a couple years ago. And so like my sense of time really started changing. I was doing a lot of like research and a lot of meditating, and I went to a shaman. I went to a shamanic Berlin. I ended up taking courses with them. That really helped me. And I also had my first QHHT session also in Berlin. And those experiences of, meeting my teacher and also having the session were kind of like a really significant beginning in me starting to finally enter, this other world and connect with the other layers of reality that there are. Yeah, my first QHHT session was so helpful. I mean, I walked out of that and I was like floating down the streets and felt so much trust and support and freedom. And some of the big themes that came up in my first session were the ideas of, us not needing to do anything, that it's already hugely significant that we are just present here on earth at this time, and also to not give my power away to others, whether that is a big company or a close loved one. A lot of that was about taking my power back and knowing that the answers are within, which all sounds like super cliche and everything, or like some kind of cheesy spiritual calendar, but it's a very different thing, like having these sessions and feeling those messages in your body. I sometimes liken the quantum sessions to a mushroom trip, because our perception is different, and we feel these messages, like we feel them emotionally. And I think that connection to emotion is a really big key. It's very different reading a sentence about how fluid time is and how everything is love, but then if you're feeling it emotionally in your body and you're kind of in a headspace that is more open to that, then it really hits home. Yeah, so I found the quantum session kind of the most helpful, energetic work for me. And since then, I've had a couple other sessions, and I've just noticed, like, that I can really trust my inner voice now. I can hear the difference between that intuitive voice and kind of my normal thinking mind with its, its doubts sometimes, or its repetitions, or its ideas. getting these sessions has really helped me just trust in my path and let go of trying to control and let go of the steering wheel of my life. And I've been gifted an immense amount of like beautiful surprises over the last years just from giving up that control and remaining open and letting the universe surprise me with humans and situations and journeys and jobs that I didn't expect and that would have not have happened if I had still been following kind of my mental mind's idea of what my life should look like. I've noticed a bigger balance in my inner polarities. So, you know, how to be feminine, but also how to, be more protective or active when I need to be. I feel more empowered to make choices in my life, and I feel completely capable of taking full responsibility for my life. I feel very free, a lot more free than before, and that kind of sense of freedom came through lots of different situations, but also through certain metaphors in the sessions. I feel a bigger amount of kind of internal space. So since there isn't as much that I need to be controlling or taking care of inside, I can kind of respond to the outer world with a lot more balance and just relaxation. Yeah, just respond to the situations openly and just a lot less getting triggered. And it's definitely moved my focus away from self and like further towards kind of collective ideas, things that I wish for the future. How can I contribute to the greater collective in order for it to flourish and heal and feel love and joy? Also kind of having these experiences and both guiding people through them, but also being guided through these different lives and these different metaphors and different energies. There's less of a need to identify with something, when you kind of hook in or connect to that kind of collective soup and you see all these different experiences that are happening. There's just less of a need to define who you are and where you're from, because you realize that everyone has kind of already been everywhere and you have too, and this is just like this life is just a little blip, it's a little chapter in the whole story, but it is not the limits of who you are. Yeah, and I think all of this work has kind of shown me that I have a strength in listening to people and being an active listener, in creating or sharing a sense of calm and relaxation. I think art school really helped with kind of the understanding of archetypal imagery, of, kind of the collective patterns or just patterns in the world, in art, in nature. And that definitely lends itself to the sessions and kind of being able to identify and see those patterns and be able to help guide the person who's with me. And where all of this work has helped me with my own intuition and a sense of pace and trust in the timing of things that helps me be a good facilitator. So if you enjoyed hearing about me, or if you have any questions, then let me know, and feel free to reach out if you're curious about anything. And I'm very happy to facilitate sessions either in Berlin or online, or sometimes in Mexico as well. But more about that in the future. And thank you for listening, and see you soon.